Do it for exposure!
Now these topics are not easy to cover, and although there's a general agreement amongst the brothers and sisters on the front line about these topics, the issues we tackle can be approached from many different angles. So keep in mind, sometimes people say some shit to get artists to work for free. But instead of dwelling on what these phrases have become, here at FMC, we want to take back these phrases, flip the script, and reclaim the power of why we do what we do, and how we gain more possibilities in the process. For every move, there is a counter. But at FMC, we never want to make it about one measure, because ultimately, it's up to you. So I'll share my views to provoke the conversation, but you'll also hear from lots of different pros, from lots of different fields, to help supply you with a more balanced ration to keep it moving. Did you know that you can get exposure and paid at the same time? It's true. If you're working on professional gigs, there's no reason for a client to say it's for exposure. Kind of goes without saying. Now sometimes you work on something for a long time, and you get paid, but it never gets published, but you get paid. Real companies always have a budget in place.
If you get a call from a producer from a studio that has a lot of money and they're asking you to do free work for exposure, don't do it, because they have the money to pay you.
Well, you know, when I first came out here, I made it into a Disney training program, and that's what lured me out to the West Coast from the Midwest of the U.S., from Kansas City. At that time, you know, there was no such thing as not getting paid.
Now I know I've done a lot of development work, got paid for it, and it never seen the light of day. And it'll happen to you too. It's kind of the name of the game, but it's still seen by a lot of people. People who are counting on you to make them look good. People who can, and probably will, get you more paid work. Especially if you did your best. And also chose to work with some credible people.
It just happens. It just does. The better you get, the more people are compelled to find some sort of way of working with you.
Someone's eyes is going to get on it and they're going to be able to see it. So you never know, it might be a producer, a director, or someone who's looking for something.
At the end of the day, paid work always gets you exposed to more paid work.
They want to be exposed to what you have to show.
With that said, there's a lot of professionals out there investing their time for the bigger picture, which includes doing it for exposure. Because sometimes it can work in the long run when you expose yourself correctly. Wait.
I think every artist has had that moment in their career where they work for exposure, where they'll tend to feel the need to get their name out there. They feel like I don't have enough media importance that people know who I am, so they'll hire me, so they feel the pressure. And I understand that.
Check out the Mission 1 video I supplied in the link below, where we first start this conversation. We covered how the NFL performers don't get paid and do it purely for exposure, because an advertisement campaign on an international scale like that can really pay off. That kind of exposure is very powerful. I would even say influential. Now let's look at the everyday ways creators work for exposure all the time. For instance, bands and artists, they do live events, they do competitions in hopes to be exposed and to establish an audience. And although the idea behind all of it is to get paid, it doesn't always work that way. And if you're starting out new, sometimes you just need to get the process going. And if you've been doing it for a long time, it's all about keeping your name and the art alive. As they say, it takes 20 years to be an overnight success.
For me, it doesn't matter how much I get paid to do certain things. You can pay me $1, you can pay me $5,000, I'm still going to put the same amount of effort into it, because for me it's all about the art and the passion about it.
Art shows and events, they're great exposure. You get to meet people, shake the hands, start relationships, and then eventually sell your content.
As you're sharing your creative statement, the better you get, the more compelled people are to give you money for what you're doing. It's like a law of nature.
It's a process to build your market. Sometimes you gain some, sometimes you lose some, and sometimes you start all over again. Sometimes you gotta pay to play. That shit sucks, but you gotta do it. And some people become really successful as a result. Now I'm not saying it's fair or right, it just is. It's important to know your value, what you're aiming for, and having goals. In fashion, it's no different. You can end up sending designs to a potential client forever before they realize they want to even talk to you. A lot of times the fashion industry goes like this. We'll know it when we see it, and if we like it, we might buy it. Now there are gigs in the fashion industry that are in-house and come with regular checks, but they're few and far between, and even they have a lot of high standards. It comes down to this: if you don't like it, they'll find somebody that will. It really makes you stop and think how serious you are about doing it. Let's back up and forget about believing in this potential ideal client for a second. Let's think about you. How serious are you about doing this? Do you believe in yourself to take that risk? When you fall, are you willing to admit your shortcomings, get back up and do it again? For a dangling carrot? For a maybe? Not everything is certain. Sometimes you gotta take a chance. Even if that means that free time is investing in yourself, which doesn't end up being free. It ends up being equity. So it's really important to know about yourself as well as the people you're investing in. Photography, film, and video, it's the same thing. Getting teams set up and producing content is a constant up and down investment. You're always testing and seeing if things work. You can't chase the real money if you're not prepared. And all this takes investment in time, training, and building a strong team. Even if you think you roll by yourself, you still rely on the support of others. And we create a strong support system by supporting each other. But it all starts by supporting and taking care of yourself first.
But if it's a friend of yours and you guys are both, the group of you are both doing a collaboration together, you know what the risk is, you know what you're getting yourself into, then that's fine. You know what you're dealing with, you know what you're getting into.
We all do this as a profession. It's a livelihood. I do this because my kids like eating every day. But there are times where I will say no. Times I say yes. The times I'll say yes usually are if they're charitable in nature. If there's something that helps their benefits a community that I want to support, there's a cause that needs promotion, sure, I'm all about it. Because it's at that point, it's not even about exposure for me, it's how I can help using what little clout I may have to help somebody else.
I think there's opportunities for, maybe helping out a friend or getting involved with something that might be promising in the future, whatever the case may be, but by and large it's not something that I would do, and it's not something that I would recommend anybody to do. You don't want to, like, you're working, you're working. So there should be something for the effort that you're making. Absolutely.
Now, investing in advertisement, that's really important, and it's still something I'm learning myself. Gotta spend money on shit that gets you exposure. Ads and viral campaigns where you rely on people's services and expertise. But having Commando aesthetics, you can do that shit yourself too. Get the ball rolling at the very least. But it takes time investment in yourself. Self-equity. Of course, you might say to yourself, I'll work for free if it's for me. Then again, how many of you want to come home after a full day of working and work some more? It's a discipline, but it's much needed. Think about it. Music, movies, animation, comic books, video games, just business in general. How many stories have you heard of a group of people coming together to believe in something and to build it based off that belief with nothing up front, and then bam-o! Payoff.
Getting yourself out there, letting people see what you do, communicating with people, all of that is very important. It's very vital, and people want to see it.
So working for exposure can be beneficial under the correct circumstances, but it all ends up being very costly. Investing in yourself usually is. And that's why it's important to roll with serious people. Regardless of budgets, having a seriousness and a good reputation can go a long way. Look, you and I both know, work requires payment. That's how you live. Although sometimes, the bigger picture doesn't always have an immediate payoff. So instead of getting mad at somebody for asking you to work for exposure, grill them. Flip the responsibility. Make them prove to you that they got exposure to give. Now, it's rare in this brave new world, but it happens. However, you won't catch that opportunity if you're not prepared. Or worse yet, you might just make the wrong decision, like doing absolutely nothing. Full Media Commandos does not suggest or recommend working for free. We just advise you to be aware of your environment and conditions as well as your intentions. So Google your favorite successful person and find out how they got there. Chances are, there was a lot of sacrifice along the way. And this is how success is made. That's because you're investing in yourself. Lots of different ways to handle each situation. Ultimately, you have to choose which direction is right for your vision of yourself. So we're not saying we're right, but we're not saying we're wrong either. We only supply information and experiences from as many different resources as possible to be a part of the movement. Because if you're a commando, it's all about staying alive and keeping it moving. And for that, you're going to need every resource at your disposal. So take what you need, go out and succeed. Thanks for watching Full Media Commandos Countermeasures.
Do it for explosion!
I'd like to thank the following contributors for their participation in our movement and our collective growth. If you like our videos, hit the like button or follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Tumblr. And make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Keep it moving, Commandos.
Do it for explosion!